Is your bedroom feeling a little flat or uninspired? Now, imagine transforming it into a space that feels cozy and luxurious without breaking the bank. From layering your bedding to lighting and skill, here are 9 of my top tips and tricks to make your bedroom look more put together. When it all boils down, expensive and luxury-looking bedrooms always have this one thing in common, and that is lots of layering and texture. The more layering you do, the more luxurious your bedroom will feel. But to do this, you need various colors and textures, because without that level of contrast and variation, your layering will look flat and boring. A good way to start is to layer your pillows. Start from the back and arrange them in order of height for a nice gradation. As a general styling rule, don't line things up evenly, but rather overlap them to create an in front of and a behind, as this creates depth and layers. But remember not to overdo them. The general rule is that when all your pillows are in their show position, they shouldn't take up more than a quarter of the length of your bed. More than that, and I find it a hassle to remove them every night. Another easy trick is to get a throw or bed runner, especially if your whole bed is the same color. This will provide that extra texture and contrast. But make sure they're big enough for the bed, which we'll touch on in later parts of this video. Now the good news is that layering and texture can be achieved not only by using pillows or throws, but with everything else in a bedroom. Linen, rugs, furniture, walls, plants, and window furnishings. If you've noticed designer rooms or hotels with an all-white bedding, they will at least have different colored walls or an elegant headboard, or plush curtain, to bring in that texture and contrast to make the space feel luxurious. If you're struggling with this, I have an in-depth guide on secrets to a beautiful home which you can download for free here. There's also a decorating checklist inside that you can use to help improve the look and feel as you're decorating your home. I definitely think that a bedroom that features a headboard looks much more polished than one without. It creates a nice focal point, adds some height and texture to a room, and it's also a nice thing to have to rest your head on. Now when I say headboard, I don't just mean one that is connected to your bed frame. I know that a lot of frames these days don't come with a headboard. So when I say headboard, it really applies to everything. Even a bolster cushion attached to a wall or some kind of paneling counts. There just needs to be something on the wall that adds some height and you can lean on. With that said, I think you can get away with no headboard provided there's enough visual interest. Say a huge statement artwork above your bed. Just make sure it is hung above your head so you don't bump into it. Or if there's an architectural interest like a window. In some cases, an arrangement of pillows and cushions can also work well, but they need to be interesting enough on their own. More than just how things look, another thing to remember is the importance of having a comfortable bed. After all, what is a nice looking bedroom for if it is not comfortable to sleep in? Now, there's a lot of options out there, so it totally depends on your needs. But as a hot sleeper, the Emma Lux mattress has been a total game changer for me. This video is sponsored by Emma Sleep, but I also have one of their other mattresses in the guest room which I bought last year. And everyone who stayed over, including myself once, don't ask me why, has loved it. The Lux mattress which I have here though is a huge upgrade over anything else I've had before. It is made up of 7 layers, with a graphite-infused thermosync foam that keeps you at a comfortable temperature throughout the night and prevents overheating. I've definitely experienced much better sleep quality, especially during those warmer nights where I used to get half awake due to sweats or having to constantly change positions to cool down. As someone who sleeps in all kinds of positions, side, back, stomach, I find the firmness of the Lux mattress to be perfect as it gives plenty of support, but not too hard that it becomes uncomfortable. This is thanks to the combination of both memory foam and pocket spring, so you're getting the best of both worlds. There's no pressure on sensitive areas and doesn't dip and sink like many mattresses. It's really super comfortable. Another thing I notice as well is how well the mattress absorbs motion. So if your partner moves a lot at night, you won't get interrupted with the constant movement. The great news is that you can try them risk-free as they have an up to 150 night trial period. So if you find that this is not for you, they'll give you a full refund and handle the return for you at no cost. There's also other mattresses on their website, so there's everything for everyone, along with accessories like bed frames, pillows, and other bedding accessories. And did I also mention that the top cover is removable? Yes, that means you can easily wash them when needed. If you're looking to upgrade your bedroom or trying to get a better night's sleep, I highly recommend you check them out. They're currently having the biggest sale of the year of up to 60% off, and you can get an additional 10% off on top of that with code Reynard10. I've linked everything down below so you can check them out. Big thanks to Emma Sleep for sponsoring today's video. A lot of people recommend going one size up for quilts or duvets as it gives you a much more plush and professionally styled look. So say if you have a queen bed, then you'll get a king size quilt. You can do this, but I personally don't because I don't really like my quilt to be touching the floor or have the patience to untuck them every single day. Really, all you have to be worried about is making sure your quilt is wider than your bed, which should be the case if you get an appropriate size quilt for the bed. What I'd highly recommend though is to get a fluffy comforter or duvet because it does make a difference. Next, make sure your fitted sheet tightly wraps around your bed. You don't want it to be too big that it is loose and looks lumpy when your bed is made, or one that is too small that you can't stretch it over the last corner of your mattress. Same goes with the rug. If you're getting one, make sure it is big enough for your bed. This means getting one that is at least 24 inches wider than your bed on each side. The typical sizing rules are that you need to get a 6x9 for a full or double bed, an 8x10 for a queen, and a 9x12 for a king. I personally like rugs that are on the larger side because you don't want most of your beautiful rug hiding under your bed. As for placement, at least half if not 2/3 of your rug should be under the bed. That way, when you get out of bed, your feet will land on the rug and not the cold floors. Also, if you're planning on having a bench at the end of your bed, make sure your rug is large enough to clear all 4 legs of the bench with some room in front, maybe roughly about 12 inches. And also make sure the rug still goes halfway to 2/3 under your bed. Lighting is so important for ambience, and ambience is what makes a space feel luxury or expensive. You need to have at least 2 different sources of light in a bedroom, and ideally use warm light. This will not only create that cozy atmosphere, but will give you the flexibility to create whatever mood you want. 2 light sources can be any combination you like. It may be sconces and a floor lamp. This is what I have at the moment. Or it can be a pendant and a sconce, or a table lamp and a chandelier. Another example is having table lamps and a strip light. I actually used to have that setup behind my bed in my old apartment, which you can check out the makeover. If you want to learn more about properly lighting a space, definitely check out my video on how to light a space. The great thing about lamps is that they also help create balance in a bedroom. I've seen so many bedrooms that tick almost all the boxes, but it is lacking height and variation, as the headboard is boxy, and then you have another boxy bedside table. A bedside lamp or wall sconces give that balance, height, and variation in shape apart from it also being functional. I'd also recommend having dimmers, especially for the bedroom, or simply swap your bulbs out to smart bulbs, which is something I did in my own place, so I can just use a wireless remote as my dimmer. A lot of people have got this idea in their heads that you have to have a very plain color scheme to make your bedroom look expensive, because all the luxury hotels seem to be using white on white on white. But the reality is that they're just trying to appeal to the masses, and when it comes to your own space, there's actually no real reason why you can't have a more colorful or a dark and moody scheme, if that is what you're after. They can all look expensive if they're done well. What I'll say though is that you should avoid overly saturated colors, as the bedroom is supposed to be a calm and restful space. This means instead of doing a lime green scheme, perhaps a muted pale green would be more appropriate. Another thing you should avoid is doing that neutral with a pop of color look. You know, the one where it's all in a single shade and done on cheap materials like polyester cushions. You may have come across this look if you've ever spent any time scrolling through real estate listings, as they all seem to do this, and it's honestly kind of horrible. I like to call this the lazy styling, where you just use everything of the same shade. If you want to throw in an accent color or a few, make sure you vary the shade, the amount, and the material. And more importantly, this is going to sound really obvious, but don't draw attention to cheap objects through color. Again, like those accent polyester cushions I mentioned earlier, use color to draw attention to high quality things. Things like statement artworks, quality cushions, or high quality wallpaper like William Morris. They'll all elevate your bedroom and make for a great statement piece because they're beautiful pieces on their own. Now, I'm not saying that you should spend a fortune on these things. It is just a general rule in interior design that whenever you want to draw attention to something, it better be something good. It is okay to have generic objects here and there because no one is living in a fantasy land with a bottomless budget. But you kind of want these things to blend in rather than stick out. Or you can simply apply Dieter Rams' principle. Less but better. So many people jump to thinking, what am I missing or what can I add to this room when it feels incomplete? But the reality is that most of the time, the answer isn't adding more stuff. It is about having less but better. Window furnishings always make bedrooms look expensive. And you might be thinking to yourself, what is the point in saying that because everyone already has window treatments in their bedroom? Well, I'm here to tell you that is sadly not the case. Look, if that is you and you hate the look of a curtain or a shade, then to each their own. But if you're still rocking those plastic or metal blinds, or just haven't gotten around to picking a window treatment because you're busy or indecisive, then this is a sign to change that. Without fail, every single time that I've put up curtains, it has transformed the room. Suddenly, the room looks so much taller, it is much more cozy, there's nice filtered light throughout the space. They're such a game changer, especially if they're layered ones with blackout and light filtering, so you can have beautiful filtered light during the day and that dark cozy feel at night. Of course, this only applies if you hang them right, that is high and wide. Make sure the fabric is at least 2 times the width of the window. I have a whole video on this if you want to go into the detailed measurements and how to hang them right. But curtains are not the only option. Roman shades are another really pretty way to give you privacy, add texture and also pattern, but are a little less visually heavy than a curtain. Though you may need to get them lined if you want them to be blackout. This one is a bit self-evident, but just compare this bedroom to this one. Which one looks more expensive? The one that doesn't have clothes all over the floor, right? I'm not your mother and I hope I don't have to tell you this, but go tidy up your room and make sure everything is off the floor and out of sight. The real secret is having systems to hide clutter. No one is perfect. Everyone has clutter and it is going to be there to some extent. But using things like decorative trays and baskets will make all your clutter look more intentional rather than messy. You might have a nice basket or coat stand near your door to put your worn but not dirty yet clothing instead of piling it up on a chair. Or perhaps you have a tray on your nightstand to put all your things on it so it looks intentionally organized, rather than having hair ties and jewelry randomly scattered everywhere. And that reminds me, I also want to talk about functional nightstands. I totally get the appeal of a beautiful pedestal nightstand. They're elegant and super pretty, but you know what they aren't? Functional. We are all collectors. Even if you deny that you are, have a little look at your bedside table. Do you have some books on it? Perhaps some hand cream, a few hair ties. What about a charging cord or earbuds? Where do you store all those things? If you don't have at least one drawer, you'll end up with a nightstand full of clutter. I have a bunch of things from lip balm to a nail cutter on my nightstand, which is why I've always opted for a drawer. Now, if you're in the 1% who doesn't collect things on your nightstand, then more power to you. Go get that beautiful pedestal nightstand. But for most of us, we'll need at least one drawer to hide our clutter. Keeping with the whole declutter and keep tidy theme, actually doing some vacuuming every once in a while and keeping your linen freshly laundered will make a massive difference to how expensive and luxurious your bedroom feels. Also open up your windows once in a while. A little bit of fresh air and sunlight can go a long way. Now, something that everyone seems to forget to put in their bedroom is art. Above your headboard is usually a great spot for a statement piece. It will draw your eye up, expand the look of your walls, and overall just add that eye-catching element that most bedrooms lack. But it doesn't just have to be there. Not everyone wants to have art above their head. And I get it. If you live in an earthquake-prone area, it might not be a good idea to have it there. But the good news is that you can have art pretty much anywhere in a bedroom. I've seen gallery walls that are so beautifully curated, or even just tiny artworks placed near the nightstand, which I think works really well in some cases. Also, your art doesn't have to be expensive. There's so many places online where you can shop for affordable pieces, like the Zenio, Minted, Juniper, and Etsy, just to name a few. Or if you don't want to purchase anything new, vintage, op shops, and estate sales are often a goldmine, although it may take time to find something very specific to your style or color. Last thing that I want to mention is to make sure that the art is framed. Unframed posters look cheap and give that teenage vibe. So, whatever you do, make sure you frame your art so it looks more polished. Again, this doesn't have to be expensive. You can get affordable frames from places like FrameBridge or even IKEA. They've quite a range now, and I think some of them look really nice. If you want to learn more about bedroom decorating, check out my video on 12 common bedroom design mistakes and how to fix them, or this video on 10 design tips for a small bedroom. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.